Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson's arrival in Cleveland was supposed to be salvation. The Browns had spent decades searching for a true franchise quarterback, and when they found one, it came with a moral dilemma. After sitting out a full season, Watson signed a record-shattering guaranteed deal, but the joy vanished almost instantly. Dozens of allegations surfaced, staining the franchise and dividing the fan base. Some fans defended the move as business, others saw it as selling the team's soul. When Watson finally took the field, his rust and inconsistency only deepened the frustration. Every interception echoed louder than any touchdown. Cleveland wanted redemption, but got controversy instead. To many, Deshaun Watson isn't the Browns' savior. He's the moment their desperation went too far. Las Vegas Raiders. Antonio Brown turned the Raiders' dream into a circus. The moment he arrived, the headlines wrote themselves. Frostbitten feet, helmet tantrums, practice no-shows. What should have been a comeback story became a reality show without the laugh track. Fans who once saw him as their next great star quickly realized they'd signed a walking PR disaster. His blow-up with GM Mike Mayock sealed it. Brown was gone before ever playing a single reel down. The Raiders had mortgaged their culture for chaos. His brief stay became the definition of dysfunction, a crash course in how fast talent can turn toxic. Even in Vegas, a city built on drama, Antonio Brown was too much. He didn't just leave, he detonated the room. Atlanta Falcons. Michael Vick made the Falcons cool again. His speed, his flair, his swagger. Atlanta was alive every Sunday. But that love turned to heartbreak when the truth came out. The dogfighting scandal didn't just end his career, it crushed the city. Fans felt betrayed, torn between what they'd seen on the field and what he'd done off it. Vick was suspended, imprisoned, erased from every highlight reel. For years, his name couldn't be spoken in Atlanta without discomfort. Some forgave him after he rebuilt his life, others never did. His return to football was a comeback story, his time in Atlanta, a tragedy. Michael Vick wasn't just a quarterback, he was a reminder that talent can't wash away pain. New England Patriots. Aaron Hernandez's fall was beyond comprehension. Once hailed as a star tight end and a key piece of New England's dynasty, he lived a double life no one saw coming. On the field, he was electric. Off it, he was spiraling. When the news broke of his connection to a murder investigation, the football world froze. Patriots fans went from cheering his touchdowns to questioning how this could happen under Bill Belichick's watch. The franchise scrubbed his name, erased his highlights, and carried on. But the scar remained. Hernandez's story wasn't just a fall from grace, it was a full collapse. Even in a dynasty built on discipline and control, this was a darkness no one could contain. Baltimore Ravens. Ray Rice was Baltimore royalty, a Super Bowl champion, a community hero, and one of the city's most beloved athletes, until one moment ended it all. When the elevator footage surfaced, everything changed. The league suspended him, the team released him, and fans who had defended him fell silent. The city that had once stood behind him now couldn't bear to watch. It wasn't just a mistake, it was a betrayal. The Ravens had to rebuild their image overnight, becoming a case study in how quickly public opinion turns. Rice never played again. His story became a warning. No amount of success can outweigh the loss of respect. In Baltimore, forgiveness never came, and the silence still lingers. Philadelphia Eagles. Terrell Owens was built for Philly. Loud, electric, and unpredictable. He made every game a spectacle and every touchdown a performance. But behind the fireworks came friction. Fights with Donovan McNabb, contract feuds, and locker room chaos split the fan base right down the middle. One day, he was doing sit-ups in his driveway. The next, he was suspended indefinitely. Fans loved him, then hated him, sometimes both in the same sentence. He was the spark and the smoke that followed. Owens brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl, but his ego burned just as bright as his talent. In the city of brotherly love, T.O. learned that once the love turns, it never turns back. Minnesota Vikings. Percy Harvin could turn any play into a highlight, but behind the speed was a storm. He clashed with coaches, argued with teammates, and carried a reputation for volatility everywhere he went. Fans loved watching him break open games, yet dreaded the drama that always followed. One week, he was unstoppable. The next, he was unavailable. Rumors of locker room fights and heated exchanges made headlines as often as his touchdowns. The Vikings wanted a superstar. They got a roller coaster. Eventually, his time in Minnesota ended not with a farewell, but a sigh of relief. Harvin was pure electricity, beautiful to watch, dangerous to hold. His story proved that talent can excite you, but turmoil will exhaust you. Carolina Panthers. Greg Hardy was supposed to be a cornerstone of Carolina's defense, a rising star with power and swagger. But when accusations of violence surfaced, the cheers turned into disgust. The Panthers were forced to act, but the damage was done. Hardy went from Pro Bowler to pariah, from team leader to outcast. Fans who once celebrated his sacks now couldn't stomach seeing his jersey. The team tried to move on, but the stain lingered. Even his brief return with the Cowboys reignited old anger. In a franchise built on community and class, Hardy became everything they didn't stand for. His legacy wasn't his tackles, it was the warning he left behind about wasted talent and broken trust. Green Bay Packers. Ahmad Carroll's time in Green Bay is remembered for all the wrong reasons. Drafted in the first round, fans expected dominance. What they got was frustration, penalties, blown coverages, and a hot temper that made him infamous. Carroll seemed allergic to discipline, constantly drawing flags at crucial moments. Packers fans, used to seeing quiet professionalism, lost patience fast. Every defensive collapse had his fingerprints on it. By the time he was released, Lambeau felt lighter. Carroll wasn't hated for scandal. He was hated for embodying everything un-Packer-like: selfish, reckless, unreliable. In a franchise that prides itself on tradition and accountability, Ahmad Carroll became the rare player fans couldn't wait to forget. New York Jets. Jamal Adams was supposed to be the Jets' next great leader, a franchise savior with swagger. Instead, he turned his exit into a spectacle. He blasted the front office, trashed coaches publicly, and demanded a trade like he was too big for New York. The Jets fan base, already scarred by years of false hope, took it personally. He called himself a winner, then left before the team could ever become one. When he joined the Seahawks, he gloated, mocked, and doubled down on every bridge he'd burned. Now, every time he struggles in Seattle, Jets fans cheer louder than ever. For a team starving for loyalty, Jamal Adams became the poster child for betrayal, disguised as confidence. Pittsburgh Steelers. Le'Veon Bell was the engine of Pittsburgh's offense, a patient runner who turned broken plays into masterpieces. But greed tore it apart. When contract talks stalled, Bell sat out, convinced he deserved more than the franchise tag. What started as business quickly became betrayal. The Steelers' locker room turned bitter, and fans who once wore his jersey now called him selfish. He eventually got paid by the Jets and vanished into mediocrity. The decision cost him his prime and the city's respect. Pittsburgh is built on loyalty and grit, not holdouts and hashtags. Bell's story became a modern NFL parable. No player is bigger than the team, and sometimes chasing the bag means losing everything that mattered. Kansas City Chiefs. Tyreek Hill gave Kansas City fireworks, on and off the field. His speed made him a star, but his past made him polarizing. When old allegations resurfaced, fans and media clashed over whether the team should keep him. Some said redemption, others said hypocrisy. Even after helping win a Super Bowl, Hill's reputation never truly recovered in KC. When he forced a trade to Miami, the fan base exhaled, half relieved, half resentful. He still taunts the Chiefs from afar, reminding them of what they lost and why they let go. Hill's departure left a stain wrapped in statistics, a reminder that greatness can be thrilling and deeply uncomfortable at the same time. San Francisco 49ers. Colin Kaepernick once electrified the Bay Area. He took the 49ers to a Super Bowl and nearly rewrote NFL quarterbacking. But when he began kneeling during the national anthem, everything changed. Some fans saw bravery, others saw betrayal. What started as protests turned into a political firestorm that consumed his career. The team moved on quietly, trying to avoid the chaos, but the fan base couldn't. To this day, Kaepernick's name divides not just football fans, but America itself. His talent was undeniable, yet his legacy became something far larger than the game. For San Francisco, he'll always represent a question that never had one simple answer. Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson helped deliver Seattle its first Super Bowl and somehow still left as one of the city's most polarizing figures. For years, fans worshipped his leadership and faith-driven image. But as his fame grew, so did the distance. Teammates whispered about ego. Coaches hinted at tension. When he finally forced his way to Denver, the truth came out. The locker room had turned on him long before the fans did. Now, "Let Russ cook" feels more like a meme than a mantra. Seattle loved him for his miracles, but grew to hate the persona that followed. Wilson's fall from hero to outsider was quiet, calculated, and, to many, long overdue. Dallas Cowboys. Terrell Owens didn't just play for the Cowboys. He embodied their contradictions. Star power, drama, and self-promotion wrapped into one man. At first, it was magic. Big plays, highlight reels, swagger that fit Dallas like a tailored suit. Then came the meltdowns. Fights in the locker room, emotional press conferences, public jabs at teammates. By the time he left, fans were exhausted. Owens was everything the Cowboys crave and everything that breaks them. A lightning bolt that burns as bright as it destroys. Dallas wanted a show, and T.O. delivered it. But when the curtains closed, all that remained was the echo of chaos. Fame always fits in Dallas, but peace never does. Detroit Lions. Ndamukong Suh was the villain Detroit loved. Until they didn't. He played with rage, stomping, shoving, and punishing opponents with a ferocity that felt personal. For a while, fans defended it. They said it showed passion, but as fines piled up and his temper overshadowed his talent, the patience wore thin. Suh became known more for dirty plays than dominance. When he left for Miami, Lions fans didn't cheer or cry. They sighed. He was one of the best defensive players they ever had, but also one of the hardest to love. In a city that prides itself on grit and class, Suh crossed the line too many times to ever fully belong. Buffalo Bills. Vontae Davis will forever be remembered for the strangest retirement in NFL history. One half into his Bills debut, he walked into the locker room, took off his pads, and told teammates he was done. Mid-game. The announcement stunned the team and humiliated the fan base. Bills Mafia, known for its loyalty and toughness, couldn't comprehend a player quitting mid-battle. Davis said his heart wasn't in it, but to Buffalo fans, it felt like betrayal. He vanished from football as quickly as he left the field that day. In a city that celebrates effort above all, walking away early is the one thing they'll never forgive. Arizona Cardinals. Patrick Peterson was supposed to be a lifetime Cardinal. The loyal leader, the face of the defense, but things soured fast. When he demanded a trade, then later got caught violating the league's PED policy, fans felt blindsided. His comments after leaving only made it worse, taking shots at the team that drafted and celebrated him. For years, he was Arizona's hero. Now he's their cautionary tale. Peterson might be respected for his career, but in Phoenix, he's remembered for how it ended. Angry, awkward, and unnecessary. Cardinals fans didn't hate his talent. They hated how easily he turned his back on them. Indianapolis Colts. Mike Vanderjagt was a kicker with a golden leg and an ego to match. He once called himself the most accurate kicker in NFL history, and for a while, he was right. But arrogance doesn't mix well in a locker room built around Peyton Manning's quiet leadership. When Vanderjagt missed a game-tying field goal in the 2005 playoffs, it felt poetic. The drunken idiot kicker comment from Manning sealed his fate. Fans laughed, then moved on to Adam Vinatieri. Everything Vanderjagt wasn't. His legacy became a footnote in Colts history, a reminder that talent means nothing without humility. Vanderjagt kicked himself right out of town, and no one missed him when he was gone. Tennessee Titans. Vince Young was supposed to be the next McNair, a hometown hero destined for greatness. Instead, he became a mystery no one could solve. One moment he was brilliant, the next, he was gone. His clashes with head coach Jeff Fisher, emotional outbursts, and sudden disappearances made headlines. Fans wanted to believe in him, but the inconsistency wore them down. When he finally left, it wasn't anger, it was exhaustion. Young's story was never about talent, it was about turbulence. The Titans moved on quietly, almost relieved. Vince Young wasn't hated for failure, he was hated for breaking the hearts of people who wanted so badly to believe. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. Washington Commanders. Albert Haynesworth was the definition of wasted money. After signing a 7-year, $100 million deal, he immediately stopped trying. Fans expected dominance, they got laziness, excuses, and open feuds with coaches. His effort was so embarrassing that teammates started calling him out publicly. He was supposed to anchor the defense. Instead, he became a cautionary tale for every bad free agent signing in NFL history. Washington fans watched him walk through plays like he'd already retired, and by the end, they couldn't stand the sight of him. He showed up out of shape, didn't fit the scheme, and didn't care who knew it. The contract was huge. The results humiliating. In Washington, Haynesworth's name still means the biggest bust ever. Chicago Bears. Jay Cutler had the arm, the swagger, and the look of a franchise quarterback, but he never had the love of Chicago. His body language told fans everything they needed to know. Every shrug, every blank stare on the sideline after an interception became a meme. Even when he played well, fans doubted his heart. The talent was undeniable, but the leadership was missing. When the Bears finally moved on, it didn't feel like a breakup. It felt like relief. Cutler became a symbol of wasted potential, a quarterback who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. In a city that celebrates toughness and heart, his indifference was unforgivable. Chicago doesn't hate losing, it hates apathy. Denver Broncos. Eddie Kennison's betrayal still stings in Denver. After signing a multi-year deal, he suddenly retired mid-season, saying he'd lost his passion for football. Just weeks later, he unretired to join the Chiefs, Denver's biggest rival. Broncos fans took it personally. It wasn't just about switching teams, it was about quitting on them first. Every time he suited up in red and gold, it felt like a slap in the face. Denver fans pride themselves on loyalty, and Kennison shattered that. His talent was solid, but his timing was treacherous. Even decades later, his name sits near the top of the list of players who broke Broncos fans' trust for good. Jacksonville Jaguars. Urban Meyer's stint in Jacksonville was a disaster from start to finish. Hired as a savior, he became a scandal factory. Questionable hires, locker room chaos, and off-field controversy piled up before he even finished his first season. Players said he bullied them. Coaches said he disrespected them. And the viral video that surfaced during the season, that was the breaking point. Fans who once hoped he'd transform the team were just praying he'd leave. When he was finally fired, it felt like the Jags had been freed. Meyer wasn't just a bad coach, he was an embarrassment. His name became shorthand for dysfunction. In Duval, he's remembered not for rebuilding the team, but for nearly breaking it. Miami Dolphins. Richie Incognito might have been tough, but in Miami, he crossed every line. The bullying scandal that rocked the team in 2013 turned him from enforcer to outcast. Accusations of harassment, leaked messages, and locker room division exposed an ugly culture. Fans couldn't believe what they were hearing. Teammates driven to breaking points, leadership in chaos. Incognito's reputation went from gritty veteran to locker room menace overnight. He eventually found work again, but Dolphins fans never forgave him. His name became a reminder that toughness without empathy isn't leadership, it's cruelty. Miami has had its share of controversies, but few left a stain as deep as Incognito's. Houston Texans. David Carr wasn't hated for his attitude, he was hated for what he represented: failure. Drafted first overall to lead an expansion franchise, he became the face of constant punishment. The Texans never protected him, and he took more sacks than anyone in history. Over time, fans' sympathy turned to bitterness. He looked defeated, lost, and broken. Every snap felt like watching wasted potential in real time. By the time he left, the city was desperate for a quarterback who could survive. Carr wasn't a villain, but he was a reminder of how painful growing pains can be. Houston didn't hate him. They hated the era he defined. Los Angeles Chargers. Ryan Leaf might be the most infamous bust in NFL history. The Chargers drafted him second overall, right after Peyton Manning, and instantly regretted it. Leaf's arrogance, meltdowns, and off-field problems made him despised by fans and teammates alike. He screamed at reporters, clashed with coaches, and played like he'd never seen a playbook. His career imploded faster than anyone imagined. For years, Chargers fans couldn't mention his name without rolling their eyes. Leaf wasn't just bad, he was toxic. Every missed throw felt like an insult to the franchise that believed in him. His failure became legendary, and his name still defines what NFL bust means today. Los Angeles Rams. Lawrence Phillips was one of the darkest stories in Rams history. A gifted running back with unmatched talent, he carried more baggage than the team could handle. Off-field violence, arrests, and reckless behavior overshadowed everything he did on the field. The Rams gave him chance after chance, but each ended worse than the last. Fans went from hopeful to horrified. When he finally flamed out, no one was surprised, just disappointed. His life spiraled after football, ending in tragedy behind bars. For Rams fans, Phillips isn't just a name from the past. He's a grim reminder of how talent can't redeem character. New Orleans Saints. Jonathan Vilma went from hero to villain in a single scandal. When Bountygate broke in 2012, Vilma was accused of leading a pay-for-injury program that rocked the league. Fans were split. Some called it a witch hunt. Others couldn't believe their defensive captain was involved. The Saints' Super Bowl glow vanished overnight. Suspensions, fines, and headlines followed. Even after Vilma denied it all, the damage was done. The NFL had turned the Saints into villains, and Vilma became the face of it. In New Orleans, he's still remembered with mixed emotions. Part champion, part controversy. Bountygate wasn't just a scandal. It was the moment the Saints' halo cracked. New York Giants. Tiki Barber walked away from football on top, and somehow still managed to make everyone mad. Right after retiring, he criticized Eli Manning and head coach Tom Coughlin on live TV, questioning their leadership. Then the Giants went out and won the Super Bowl without him. Fans never let him live it down. Barber had been the face of the franchise for nearly a decade, but his exit turned him into an outsider overnight. He wasn't just a retiree, he was a talk show villain. Every time he spoke, it made things worse. In New York, loyalty matters, and Tiki broke that bond the second he opened his mouth. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Keyshawn Johnson was the prototype diva receiver. Talented, loud, and impossible to manage. He helped the Bucs win a Super Bowl, but it didn't take long for his ego to wear thin. His feud with coach John Gruden exploded in 2003, ending with Johnson being deactivated for the rest of the season while still under contract. Fans watched in disbelief as their star receiver disappeared mid-year for attitude problems. Even now, his name triggers eye rolls in Tampa. He talked like a legend, but acted like a liability. The Bucs loved his confidence until they realized it was just arrogance in disguise. Cincinnati Bengals. Vontaze Burfict turned every game into a street fight. His hits were vicious, his penalties constant, and his reputation infamous. For a while, fans loved the edge, until it started costing them playoff games. His brutal shot on Antonio Brown in 2016 is still one of the ugliest moments in team history. Suspensions piled up, and the league finally had enough. The Bengals stood by him too long, and fans knew it. He wasn't feared because he was great. He was feared because he was reckless. Burfict didn't just cross the line, he lived on it. And in the end, that's why even his own team had to walk away. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you're going to really love.